I'd like to thank everybody for joining me today. Today, I want to talk about business transition. This is an important topic for all of our business owner clients, especially if we have an unplanned exit. If we aren't helping our business owners plan for their transition now and be ready for this in case those unplanned exits happen, this failure can ultimately cost a significant value to the business and potential litigation. It can be one of the biggest problems of a business owner is how to exit out of that business and when that's going to happen. But if we start looking at this with a business, 100% of business owners are going to exit their business. Now, a lot of our business owners don't plan to die. They don't plan for disability, but all of those issues are going to affect their business in a substantial way. Especially most of our business owners feel like they're the rainmakers. They feel like they're the ones that have to be there to grow this business. And if they aren't preparing for that transition, whether that's a voluntary exit or a forced exit, they're going to cause significant damage to their business. If you think about 50% of these transitions are involuntary. They're a forced exit. And that's ones where if the planning's not already in place, the business isn't going to succeed. If we look at these statistics, 80 to 90% of the owner's wealth is trapped in their company. If you think about that, if we're talking 80 to 90% of their wealth, that's their retirement money. That's the legacy that they're going to potentially pass on to their family, to their heirs. So that's a big chunk of money that needs to be accounted for. 60% of owners don't understand what their exit options are. And if you think about the planning process, part of that is to understand what the options are so that our business owners can make good informed decisions. 80% have not engaged with or formed a transition advisory team. A lot of times they're looking at their current CPAs, they're looking at their financial advisors, maybe their legal team, but 80% of them have not engaged that team to help them with this transition planning. So if they haven't engaged them, we know that that work is not being done. And it's part of our process as advisors is to bring these issues to the forefront for our clients to even be thinking about it. 75% of owners regret selling their business just a year after selling it. And a big part of this, if you haven't planned for this, and if you haven't worked with a client that has sold their business or transitioned into retirement, most of them don't know what to do. Most of them haven't prepared for that. Their business is such an integral part of their personality and part of them and what they're doing that they've never thought of what happens beyond that. So now they've walked out of their business, they've sold their business, and they don't know what their identity is. But if they can plan for this transition, when they go to sell their business, if that's what they want to do, there's not going to be a buyer's regret because they've had plenty of time to think this through. 40% of owners want to sell within the next 5 years. So if you think about what area we as advisors we need to focus on, this is a big part of it because our business owner clients are looking for these transition options. And if we're not bringing those options to them, somebody else is going to. So we have to start looking at what can we do to help our clients because a lot of our business owner clients are in the day to day. They're worried about payroll. They're worried about marketing. They're worried about the current jobs in process. It's hard for them to step away from their business to work on their businesses. And this is such an important part, especially if you think of somebody that does 80 to 90% of their wealth that is in that company, what are they going to do? And what's going to happen if there's an unforced exit that they haven't prepared for? When we start looking at a business exit, and what I'm looking at now is the unplanned business exits. These are the ones where we need to be very aware and account for these things potentially happening. So the first one, if you think about, we're all going to die. And if our business owner dies, if the owner or the majority owner of a business dies, is that business going to survive? And I deal with a lot of business owners, and they want their business to survive not only for themselves, for their family, but for their employees. This is the legacy that they've built up. But if there's an untimely death, now what's going to happen? We're at the mercy sometimes of court proceedings. We're at the mercy of key employees walking away and now forming their own company. We're at the mercy of our competitors coming in and snatching up key clients. If we don't plan that, and aren't adequately planning for the death of our business owners, that business may not survive and that value in that business is gone. So we need to figure out what's that buy sell planning going to look like? Who would be a potential buyer? Is it a business partner? Is it a key competitor? Is it the employees through a management buyout? Is it a key employees through an ESOP? All of these are planning opportunities, but we need to be talking to our clients so that we've got the plan in place. We've got the funding in place, whether that's life insurance, whether that is some kind of sinking fund, whatever it takes to make sure if there's an untimely death that we're prepared for it. The next one, and I think this is probably one that is more difficult to plan for. What if our key owner has a disability? And with that disability, how is that going to affect the company? Do we need disability buyout? Do we need a life insurance policy with living benefit riders on it? Whatever it is, we need to make sure we account for disability as a potential business exit, especially if we have multiple business partners. How do they run the business if one of the partners has a disability? And if it's a disability and they can't do anything in that business, should they be bought out? We need to be talking about those issues. Divorce is a big issue. 50% of marriages end in divorce. And a lot of times, if there's a divorce and the business ends up in the hands of a spouse that is not involved in running that business, we now have friction between the business owners. And that can create a lot of problems. We need to address and make sure in a buy-sell agreement that divorce is addressed and how they want that to happen. What if there's a disagreement? There again, this becomes a problem. If we've discussed it in advance, if we have a buy-sell agreement, that buy-sell agreement's going to address if one of the owners wants to leave. What's that going to do? And I've worked on this. I've had buy-sell agreements. I did a buy-sell agreement years ago. We worked it through. There were 3 business partners, and they decided if somebody wants to walk, if there's a disagreement and somebody just wants to walk out, there was going to be a 25% discount on the price of that business interest. Lo and behold, we signed the agreement, everything got buttoned up. And the next day, one of the business owners came in and said he wants to walk away. We had no idea that he was planning this the whole time, but he was willing to sell his interest for a 25% discount. And they all remained friends after the business dissolution or the partner leaving the business. Finally, the distress. And this is one where what happens if the business is in financial distress and one of the partners can't provide liquidity, can't put up their share of the money? Does that change the ownership percentages? Does that change the sharing of income and expenses? All of that needs to be addressed. So all of these triggering points can create an opportunity to plan, or it can also trigger an opportunity for that business to fail when these things occur. As advisors, we need to work with our business owners. We need to open up the toolbox and talk to them about transition planning, how we can help, what the issues are, what the questions are that need to be addressed. But we have the tools to help them if we will start the conversation. I appreciate everybody getting on. If you have questions, please feel free to reach out. And if not, we'll talk again next week. Thank you.